The real shock comes when people realize that soil doesn't die suddenly. It's a slow collapse, a quiet unraveling of biology, structure and chemistry that starts years before the garden gives its first warning sign. And whether you're digging in a small urban patch or tending acres of farmland, the forces killing your soil today aren't new. Agriculture has been fighting them since the first settlements in Mesopotamia. Entire ancient civilizations collapsed because they underestimated the power of depleted dirt. So, when people talk about dying soil as if it's a modern inconvenience, they're missing the scale of the problem. Soil health determines whether a field feeds a family or becomes a wasteland. It decides whether a garden thrives or turns into a graveyard of wilted stems. This is why understanding what kills soil and knowing how to revive it isn't trendy gardening advice. It's survival-level knowledge with a historical fingerprint stretching back thousands of years. With that, let's get into the core of what's destroying soil today and what you can do right now to reverse the damage. Your soil is dying because the life inside it has been stripped away. Healthy soil is never just sand, silt and clay. It is a living system made of bacteria, fungi, nematodes, arthropods and decomposers that work like a miniature factory. When these organisms disappear, the soil becomes lifeless substrate, good for holding roots, but terrible at feeding them. In most cases, the decline begins when the soil is left bare and exposed. Sun bakes the surface, rain compacts it, wind strips it. Over time, the microbial population collapses, leaving the soil unable to cycle nutrients. Chemical salts from synthetic fertilizers accelerate the decline by damaging fungal networks and killing sensitive microbes. Once those micro-communities disappear, the soil can no longer hold moisture or break down organic matter efficiently. To fix this, the first step is reintroducing organic inputs that feed microbes instead of killing them. Layering compost, aged manure, or shredded plant residue directly on top of the soil begins to wake dormant biology. Even in severely degraded ground, this top-down restoration eventually rebuilds the microbiome. One actionable method is what farmers call the three-layer restoration. Start with a thin layer of organic matter, follow with a second layer of coarser plant debris, then finish with a covering layer such as straw or dried leaves. Over several weeks, soil organisms move upward, pulling the nutrients down and rebuilding structure naturally. Soil collapses when its structure is repeatedly destroyed. History has shown this repeatedly, from the Dust Bowl to ancient agricultural failures. Soil structure depends on aggregates, tiny clumps held together by root exudates, fungal glues, and organic matter. When aggregates break apart, the soil loses its ability to drain, breathe, and support root growth. Tilling is one of the biggest culprits. It rips apart fungal networks, exposes carbon to the air, and dries the soil quickly. Compaction from heavy machinery or constant foot traffic squeezes the life out of soil pores. To reverse structural damage, you need to rebuild from within rather than forcing the soil open from the top. Planting deep-rooted species like tillage radish, mustard, cowpea, or even comfrey can undo compaction naturally. Their roots break through hard layers and leave behind channels that improve water infiltration and oxygen flow. If you're working with a small garden, simply planting a cycle of deep-rooted cover crops every season can restore structure in a single year. For larger fields, alternating between shallow-rooted and deep-rooted species mimics what prairie systems did long before humans began farming. Your soil is starving, you see, because it can no longer cycle nutrients. Dying soil often contains nutrients, it just can't access them. This is the distinction many growers miss. Without healthy fungi and bacteria, minerals stay locked in forms plants cannot use. This is why soil can test high in phosphorus, yet still produce nutrient-deficient crops. During the Cold War, researchers studying famine prevention agriculture discovered that mycorrhizal fungi were responsible for up to 90% of nutrient delivery in traditional systems. When these fungi disappear, the soil becomes chemically rich but biologically poor. To fix nutrient cycling, focus on feeding the fungi first. Avoid high-salt fertilizers and replace them with biological sources such as worm castings, leaf mold, compost teas or decomposed wood chips. Adding small amounts around plant bases helps fungi recolonize root zones. In practical terms, treat your soil like a living organism that needs slow, steady food, rather than a system that responds to chemical boosts. Over time, nutrient cycling becomes self-sustaining again. Your soil is dying because water either moves too quickly or not at all. Soil that is too dry loses microbial activity. Soil that stays too wet suffocates roots. Both conditions lead to the same outcome, a collapse of biological life. Poor infiltration, runoff and compaction turn water from a resource into a threat. Historically, civilizations that mastered water management, such as the Inca or the ancient Chinese, had long-lasting agricultural systems precisely because they understood this relationship. Fixing water imbalance begins by increasing organic matter. Organic matter acts like a sponge, holding water during drought and releasing it slowly. It also prevents flooding by increasing pore space. A simple, actionable method is to mulch heavily and consistently. A thick mulch layer maintains moisture, regulates temperature, and reduces erosion. Over time, mulch becomes organic matter, which improves water balance even further. Your soil can be revived using the same principles ancient farmers relied on. The key to restoration is patience and biological focus. The more you rebuild the natural systems within the soil, the longer the results last. Regenerating soil is not about shortcuts. It's about steady changes that create compounding benefits. Whether you're tending a raised bed or managing a field, your soil comes back to life the moment you stop fighting it and start partnering with it. If you found this guide useful and want more historically grounded, practical explanations like this, make sure you subscribe, share the video, and help grow this community of serious growers and history-driven thinkers.